People say it, so it's true. And if they diss me, I'll fucking sue. Man's gotta do what a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. People say it, so it's true. And if they diss me, I'll fucking sue. Man's gotta do what a man's gotta do.
Kips Clips. Alrighty, YouTube's another one of Kips Clips, and welcome to the 1984 Newspeak News at 1 live for Monday the 5th of March 2018. Well, we March already and in spring, so hopefully you've all had a good weekend, made the most of it. And now we're going to get back into a wee BeNEWSment at the alt and mainstream media alike. So yet again I'm going to be returning back to the UK column. Over here in the UK it's very much a respected, alternative, reasonable look at the news. But I do believe if you scratch beneath the circus of this mob, you'll see the political agenda, which they pretend not to have. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, I don't know, each their own, but there's nothing wrong with people subscribing to a political ideology. It doesn't make them a bad person. But when they stand in front of you and tell you they're independent, where all we're doing is being independent and honest and telling you the truth, and then you start seeing the little clubs and the little agendas and the messages that they're propagating and the political agenda that they pretend not to have that they're pushing. So they're almost as bad as the BBC. In fact, they're the exact same as the BBC, Fox, Sky News, the rest of the mainstream media, in the sense that they aren't what they protest to be on the tin. So in the afternoon, one and all, if you appreciate the 1984 Newspeak News at any point, feel free to stick a wee thumbs up on the clip. The buttons down below. It helps the channel, it helps the show, and most importantly, puts a smile on my face. So feel free to stick a wee thumbs up. It's very much appreciated. You can also, with the buttons below, share it with your friends, family, foes, help the show and the channel grow. That's what it's all about. Tell somebody that isn't aware of the show and might appreciate an alternative, genuine alternative look at all media. The pursuit of being objective while understanding that we're all subjective to our own programming. It's an honest way of looking at things, isn't it? So in the afternoon at 1 and all, there's Zoo Scott, Chinny and Scottish Ross in from the start. In the afternoon, dudes, how yous all doing? And there's Rab Mick, how you doing, my man? So thanks for joining, and let's get over onto the UK column. Hold on. It's Illuminati o'clock.
Good afternoon, it's Monday the 5th of March 2018, just after 1 o'clock. Welcome to UK Column News. I'm your host, Mike Robinson. Joining me in the studio today is Patrick Henningsen from 21st Century
Hope his
War.
audio was better than his.
Patrick.
Great to be with you, Mike.
Yeah. Patrick Henningsen's mic's working and Mike Robinson's isn't. Sorry to be panicky about the audio, but you can hear this shit. It sounds like he's speaking from the opposite side of the room.
Right. Just looking, I think we do have a technical problem here.
Yep, it's called your microphone's not working.
I'm not quite sure what that is.
Your microphone's not working?
So we'll just start this again, I think. So just bear with us for 1 second, please.
Man. Talk amongst yourselves. I wonder if they actually fixed it. I mean, they were broadcasting it was the audio, you could hear it, his mic was working and Mike's mic wasn't working and Patrick's mic was working. God almighty. Let's see, did it get it resolved? God, this is going to be the shortest 1984 Newspeak news ever. Well, let's go back to being live. Man, it wasn't that bad, Mike. We could have still heard the egg talking. God, this is God, no my fault. Anyway, I'll say hi to everybody in the chat room. There's Chinny18Rab. Headlights for sale. How you doing, my man? Zoo Scott, how you doing? Lopsum as well. Lopsum, I've tried my hardest to follow those instructions, mate, and all I was getting was them asking me to register for the website and stuff. I'm happy to share out all that stuff. Just need go to my Facebook, you'll get them all there. You can copy and paste them and put wherever you want. Or I can try and email you. Can try and email you all the sort of thumbnails I've got as well. Learn from the BBC UK call. Right, hold on, we'll just hang about until they sort their shit out. It was working, it was just a microphone, man, fuck's sake. Just get Patrick Dangleberry, what's his name, to do it all himself. Right, I know what I'll do. I'll interject with some bullshit. People that are on the YouTubes will probably be aware of, it's that guy there, Jorg or whatever. I wouldn't say I'm an avid watcher of his stuff. Every now and again I'll click on his stuff. I've been subbed in for some time. He just makes cool slingshots and guns and kind of boys' toys, I suppose you would say. But he put together an idea for it's better here. Look, this is the UK column getting switched off and having technical difficulties is the most entertaining it's been since since its launch. But anyway, this dude over here launched the YouTube Union, the YouTubers Union, which is a good idea. Initially hear him talking about it, he wasn't getting caught up in the Alex Jones, it's an attack on the First Amendment, paranoid android shit. It was an honest reflection of some of the things he said, where they took the ability for small people to make money away. There's no incentive for anybody new. And what he said in his video as well is he's took away people's hope. Now, you could argue the pros and cons about hoping or trying to make creating content for YouTube a full-time occupation. But it should be down to the individual to choose that and whatnot. And YouTube have took that ability away. I think it's 1,000 or 10,000 subs. I think it's 1,000 subs you need before you're allowed to monetize a channel. You can see why they're doing it, and again, Alex Jones and the Truth for Industrial Complex has fucked up YouTube platform for everybody because of their electioneering, their party political broadcasts, messages that they were using YouTube to deliver. And it's all the big massive players in the Truth for Industrial Complex that fucked it up for everybody. So when I'm pointing at my video after Trump's election saying Trump's election should be the death of Alex Jones and other fake-ass alternative media, I'm being serious because they've hijacked this genre which everybody enters into with the label of truth attached to it. So everybody's, oh, the TV's been lying to me all my life. All I needed to know was the truth according to the YouTubes and the interwebs. And a lot of people enter into this medium with that innocent attitude, that innocence, that innocence, ignorance of what YouTube can be used for and how it can be used to deliver political messaging. and hopefully the YouTube purge at its conclusion will find a medium ground where genuine YouTubers out there ain't going to get kicked off. But YouTube, to me, clearly are building the terms and conditions and climate for them to kick off particular YouTubers. And it isn't that hard. And you can disagree, feel free. It isn't that hard to see the network. The very well established network. It's the network is so advanced they've even got the same tactics as the WWF, where you have Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man Randy Savage fighting each other in a career match, when ultimately what's really going on is, who won that? It was Ultimate Warrior. Ultimately, what's really went on is Macho Man Randy Savage has received an injury and he's not going to be able to wrestle anymore. So this is kind of like his testimonial match that gets lots of money. And that's what the Truther Industrial Complex is. Then you actually go and look who the WWF is, how the WWF is actually, how the Truther Industrial Complex actually replicated, in a sense, the WWF. I mean, they stole some of its cast directly from it. Alex Jones in another life could be a WWF wrestler. Jesse Ventura and his boy, his boy's pal. It's quite funny it's quite funny go and look at what these Looney Tunes were trying to sell you back at the day when they were engrossing themselves in the Truther Industrial Complex. Oh! Hey! Back in the room.
Good afternoon. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. It is Monday, the 5th of March, 2018.
That's all you had to do. That's all you had to do in the first place, Mike Robinson.
Actually, 1:15 now. I do apologise for the technical problems and the delay to the start of the programme. Welcome to the programme to Patrick Henningsen.
Unprofessional.
From 21st Century Wire.
Unprofessional.
Well, we better get straight on with it then.
Oh, so here's Patrick Henningsen from 21st Century Wire, an independent news source, but the independence evaporates when you go and look at the network he's part of, whose messaging he parrots, where he gets his messaging from, whether it's that Vanessa Beeley or what have you, and all the books in and around the shit that's going on in Syria.
And so here we go. The beast from the east has a sting in the tail, Patrick. This follows on from what we were saying about the great storm, the great snowstorm that we've been experiencing last week. And apparently Southeast Water, Thames Water, Southern Water, Affinity Water have released a statement saying that following the recent freeze and rapid thaw, water companies across London and the southeast of England are experiencing exceptionally high levels of demand for water due to multiple bursts on networks and an increase in leaks in and on customer properties. So they're asking for customers who have water to use as little as possible while they're currently without water or have low pressure. We are putting as much extra water as we can into our local networks, they said, and fixing leaks and bursts as quickly as possible. We sincerely apologise to all those who are currently without water or experiencing low pressure. So apparently they have been delivering water to hospitals, 20,000 homes without water in the southeast. Some schools are closed, Patrick, because they don't have water in the schools. And so it goes on. So we have this continuing failing infrastructure situation, all caused, as we know from last week, by Vladimir Putin. Yes.
Was he trying to flirt with him there? He was like, hey, big boy, look, I'll look at you from behind my glasses. Hey, Patrick, what happened to your ponytail, man?
2 days and 4 inches of
still
snow
got it?
and the whole country shuts down. I think we have a resilience issue.
Was that almost a drop of emotion at that guy's face displayed there? Is he laughing, sneering? Is this sarcasm? Or has he just got trapped wind?
We absolutely do. So Theresa May clearly thinks that this is a good thing because she wants to build more houses and she wants to keep the borders open and make sure that more and more people come into the country. And this, of course, has been the argument that I've been making on the issue of immigration for quite a number of years now. The fact is we do not have the infrastructure to support it. And that has been demonstrated in the past week. It continues to be demonstrated now because, you know, that she wants to build more homes, Patrick. She wants to build more homes. And she said she was giving...
And this has got what to do with brown people?
Giving a speech this morning, she said, "I still vividly remember the first home I shared with my husband, Philip. It was so romantic." And she said, not only our pictures on the walls and our books on the shelves, but also the security that came from knowing we couldn't be asked to move on at short notice, unless they fell behind with their mortgage, of course, in which case it'd get kicked out straight away. But that's neither here nor there. She's painting this romantic picture of home ownership. She said, where cities surrounded by green belts need more homes, we can increase housing density, make better use of brownfield sites, build upwards rather than...
I heard brownfield, it sparked my trance there. Brown? What? Most exciting thing this guy's ever said.
Outwards. Our new planning rules make it easier to do this. So she is promoting the building of affordable homes, new homes. Let's build
affordable to whom?
Homes, but we're not going to build the infrastructure that goes with it. So we won't have the water pipes, we won't have the railway stations, we won't have the schools, we won't have the hospitals. That's okay, so long as we've got the affordable homes.
He's flirting with him, and he's like, "Hey, big boy, look, I'll look at you from behind my glasses."
What she's doing here is pumping up the housing.
And watch Patrick's face. This is a guy that doesn't show much emotion, so you know somebody's tickling his balls under the desk. You know.
Market are keeping the bubble afloat, and that's all she's attempting to achieve with this.
What sort of homes are we talking about? Semi-detached wimpies in brown belt areas and places where people don't actually want to live. Reclaimed land.
Oh, he's got a fucking soccer mum fucking haircut.
After the M25, maybe. Very attractive new communities.
Well, I think it actually goes well.
I think the UK column need to do a disclaimer. May contain dry beyond the realms of belief sarcasm by the monotone ranger Patrick Henningsy.
Well, beyond that, she wants to make use of greenbelt land, land that developers have been holding on to, that haven't been developing on the land. They've got the land, they've got the planning permission, but they don't feel the economic situation is quite there just yet, so they're not developing on it. She wants to continue.
Supply and demand. Keep supply artificially low, prices go up.
To push that. But as I say, you know, what she's actually wanting to do is to keep this housing bubble afloat. They're starting to panic a little bit, particularly in London. The air's coming out of that bubble pretty quickly now.
Yep, and that's the air out of the Tories' political bubble as well.
Absolutely.
Because housing prices have to rise.
Absolutely.
This is the law of the universe. Okay,
let's move on then to Penny Mordaunt, who was giving a speech this morning. This follows on from the Oxfam allegations. So she has announced that the Department for International Development, this was a couple of weeks ago, she announced that the DFID and the Charity Commission would be co-hosting a safeguarding summit, and so they decided they would hold that today, the 5th of March. And this is going to bring, or it has brought together UK international development charities, regulatory bodies and independent experts to commit, they say, to drive up safeguarding standards and take bold steps to tackle sexual exploitation and abuse within charities.
Again, they're even using Pedageddon within charities for governmental control and regulation. When ultimately they need this government, well, I don't know, this is the way I see all these NGOs and charities is like 99.9% spook city, isn't it? And depending who's writing the checks for these NGOs and charities and what country they're coming out of and what agenda they're serving, dictates what kind of where they're allowed to operate, so on and so forth. I mean, like, charities are the first bodies that are allowed by all sides of conflict to operate openly on the ground. My argument is all, if not the vast majority of them, are on a certain level intelligence gathering, full of spooks. And I think that's very evident if you go and look at the evidence, in the sense that USA aid getting kicked out of Russia, and it wasn't because they were doing good things.
And by staff abroad. So this is what she said. My message to those who have sought to exploit this sector and the human tragedy in which it operates: we will find you, we will bring you to justice, your time is up. Now, I might be able to take those words seriously if the government, if the Department for International Development or Penny Mordaunt were doing anything to bring the politicians that are involved in sexual exploitation and abuse of women and children in this country to justice. I might take it seriously. So we will reiterate once again that this is about something else. This is about the government trying to get its claws into charities and making sure that the charities are doing what government, where they're working together, collaborating on a joint policy agenda. Now, who was at this? Well, Action Aid was there, Age International, Bond, of course, the British Red Cross, CARE International, Christian Aid, Coalition of Aid and Development Agencies in Northern Ireland, Comic Relief was there, Concern Worldwide, Conciliation Resources, Gender and Development Network, Hub Cymru Africa, International Rescue Committee, of course, because you know, we've got to have international NGOs at this as well. Mercy Corps, Muslim Aid, Oxfam GB, Plan International, the list goes on. And they are then going to be holding another broader event later in the year. But my question remains, why now? You know, these abuses have been taking place for a long time. There is a policy agenda at work here.
Sure, and it's not just the crisis of the sex scandal with regards to Oxfam and Brendan Cox and so forth. There's a bigger problem, Mike, which is the general public image of charities and NGOs. And so as they see some of their public relations stock tanking, especially with revelations of NGOs that are involved in nefarious activity in Syria, like the
White Helmets.
The White Helmets, for instance. So there is definitely a PR issue with a lot of...
And the fact that you're particularly pointing at one side of the scumbaggery shows what side of the information war you're on.
Of these charities, they've been on...
Not that the White Helmets are good people. They're just a list of these fake organisations which operate in war zones for ulterior agendas.
The gun for a long time, Mike, and everybody knows, has seen the graphs of the percentage of which people donate and how much of that actually goes to the needy people on the ground in places like Haiti and so forth after any of these big disasters. And it's a small percentage, something like, you know, I don't know, 10 cents.
Pull it out your arse.
On the dollar in some cases. Yeah. So, you know, they have a major crisis issue, but these are so important, these NGOs and charities, because the government does launder a lot of its activity in terms of foreign policy and consent.
Apart from Russia, everybody else does it, apart from Putin and Russia, who are just spectacularly amazing.
This is building overseas through charities and NGOs. They need this third sector, Mike, to operate through, especially when things that are being done can't really be done directly by governments for obvious reasons, political reasons.
And one of the things that Penny Mordaunt has been doing,
maybe like Putin employing news directly. They'll use, you'll just become part of an echo chamber, very easily dismissible. We're not actually, we're on RT quite a lot, we parrot a lot of RT's propaganda and messaging and shit, but we don't really actually probably, 6 degrees of separation, David Bacon. We have nothing to do with that, no, it's just, yeah, I'm on RT, and yeah, they love the stuff we say, and yes, we do parrot a lot of stuff coming out from spooks of the opposite side. You know, the BBC parrot shit from spooks from one side, and we parrot shit from spooks from the other side. But no, we're just honest to God, good, honest, independent journalists that have came together in this network, and who speaks to clear intelligence operatives on the opposite side.
Over the last, since she took the job a few months ago, is to try to clean up the image. The policy hasn't changed, the activities haven't changed, but she wants to clean up the image. So the Department for International Development, which previously had been quite willing to admit that it had been operating within Syria, for example, is now focused much more on humanitarian, solving people's hunger problems and this kind of stuff, and making sure people are healthy. And the DFID is focusing more on, in terms of publicity I'm talking about.
Just one quick question. What's a European patriot? What country does a European patriot feel patriotic towards? Answers on a postcard, please.
More on Africa.
Anybody with any sort of a formal logic?
Whereas the activities continue more under the radar, the activities that always continued under the radar. So this is all about PR, all about getting the collaboration going, a standard policy perspective, a PR agenda running, and it's pretty despicable stuff. So this is part of an information war that's going on.
And yous aren't part of this information war, aren't yous not? Yous are just, surely to God, honest individuals that really want to call out the bad stuff that's happening in this world. Yeah, we do sort of have ties back to the British Constitution group, and then they've kind of carbon copy from the British Constitution Association, which was basically set up by a bunch of landowners at the collapse of the British Empire and neo-colonialism to sort of allow the landowners and the corporate whores coming out of the British Empire to hold on to their shit. But of course you can't have just like Lord Farquhar and Lord Monckton and Lord fucking Mogg fucking... Go and look what school that guy went to. He actually went to the Dragon School. It's all wrapped up in the biblical bullshit. Anyway, but these people, honestly to God, just love Britain, and they're fighting for the small man on the streets' rights. Just like this American guy sitting on the UK column talking about how everybody should be patriotic. Just like us morons that bounce up there and go, European patriots unite! Tommy Robinson wanting to be Save Europe! A British patriot wants to broadcast to fucking Europe. The irony and the hypocrisy of these stances is lost on the great retarded masses.
Patrick, which brings us nicely into this one.
And the British military shite again?
Because this is from the Times. General Sir Gordon Messenger, military must wake up to the information war. And the Times says the need to win the information war concerns General Sir Gordon Messenger more than the latest model of tank.
Right, so these people are sitting around going, there's an information war going on, look at this, look at it, we aren't part of it. Yeah, we do turn up on Russia Today. Yeah, Russia Today is Russian propaganda. Yeah, they are putting out messages in the Western press to foment civil disobedience and turn the citizens on in their own government. Not that the governments are good in the first place, but RT will sit up there and tell you all the crimes of the West and not one crime of Putin. Yeah, it's propaganda and one particular narrative. And yeah, the UK column are parroting that shit, same shit, getting you to vote for Corbyn, a fucking commie bastard. And they're pretending they're not political, although they're part of they broadcast out of the British Constitution Group's property, which is a non-party affiliated political charity. Stick that into your Orwellian dictionary. And if you go and look where the British Constitution Group came from and go and look at the British Constitution Association, you'll see who these people are, where the money's coming from and what they're fighting for. And it's all the old landowners, lords, if you want to call it that, from the British Empire. That through their money and influence is setting up this political propaganda wing, or contributing to the truth or industrial complex, to fight for their rights in the political arena while pretending they don't like politics and they're only fighting for the normal guy.
Fast jet or warship. Hardware still has a role, but the Vice Chief of the Defence Staff wants to see an evolution in the military mindset about the importance of using data to help defeat and destroy an enemy. And he said, we have to wake up to the idea that our ability to turn data into information advantage, our ability to respond faster through cleverer decision making, which is enabled by the flow of information, is actually frankly as important, if not even more important, than whether our tanks out.
Don't worry, people. Tommy Robinson is going to save us. He's going to set up the UK version of InfoWars. I think he might call it the People's Voice. And in the process of doing... Has that been done? Has that scam been done before? Right, but whatever he's going to do, he's already built a studio which hasn't been built, which had bulletproof doors which don't exist because it's not been built, but they did build it and it was shite, according to Tommy Robinson's own logic, statements. And now he needs more money to build yet another studio because he wants to broadcast whenever and wherever 24 hours a day, which he does anyway. But he wants to do it in a different way. He wants to do it while he's sitting in a £100,000 studio or a couple of £100,000 studio. But at the same time, he wants to have the collar took off from Rebel Media and be able to go where he wants, as he wants, when he wants, to get into the thick of things because he's willing to take risks and get into dangerous situations that others aren't. So he's wanting to do this while he needs a £1 million studio as well. You follow his logic. You follow his logic. I know it's
illogical.
Yeah, it's illogical. But anyway,
range and anti-tank missile, so that's a pretty impressive position to be taking, Patrick.
Sure, and I think people should be aware. You see the tough photograph here, posing for the photo, looking tough, sleeves rolled up, in the middle of winter. Definitely somebody to be reckoned with. But what you should point out, Mike, is any technologies that are developed for the theater of war, for forward operations, offensive purposes, eventually, Mike, this technology comes back home and is then used.
Yeah. Propaganda only exists on the television and news media. In the truther industrial complex, all we are doing is telling you the truth, says an American patriot sitting in the UK, telling you to be patriotic about the United Kingdom or America. I don't know who we should be patriotic about, Patrick.
Used on domestic populations. So when we're talking about the military being involved in information warfare, in these theaters of battle, they will be incubating and developing things that will eventually be used by the state at home. And I think we're living in that reality.
We're living in that, yeah, absolutely.
Today.
This is the post-truth reality that we're living in. Well, I'm glad to see that Peter Hitchens has woken up to the post-truth reality that we're living in. This was his article from the weekend. Peter Hitchens, Britain's frozen.
The Mail Online. Now, it's funny you see the Mail Online like getting parroted so much by the alt-right, which UK column's very much part of, by the way. But anyway, a debate for a different day. I mean, just in your own Googles or whatever, search the Mail Online and go and look at, I don't know, the Nazi bastards behind it. I mean, literal Nazi supporting fuckers. Now, I'm most... aye, that's who the Daily Mail were. Who they are now, who knows, but seems perfectly fair and reasonable, all the stuff they print out. It's amazing how much all the articles that the Truther Industrial Complex use, the Mail Online's got to be up there over about 50% a lot of the shit. Same way, like, I don't know, Washington Free Beacon, Mail Online. I mean, you see it again and again and again, the same. The Express is a good one as well. Their stuff seems to get parroted and rhymed and repeated quite a lot in the alternative media.
By our terror of ambulance chasing lawyers. Now, Peter Hitchens, when he writes his
Tommy Robinson News, I'm not a Scottish patriot, man. I only feel patriotic towards Glasgow. Those Edinburgh bastards, salt and sauce, I ain't nothing to do with them. I don't understand those chuckter cunts. I'm a no borders kind of dude. I think I don't believe in all these fake ass countries that people fly a flag and then get you to go and die in vain in the name of a fucking flag. Right? I'm not for that. I'm all for people being able to defend what they perceive to be theirs. And I only feel I have an emotional attachment to Glasgow and the surrounding areas. I can go anywhere else in the UK. Now, I feel more attached to people in the UK through common culture than anybody else sitting in Europe, and to a certain degree the United States as well, because of the common culture and the commonalities there. But I certainly don't feel patriotic for Britain, Scotland, Ireland, Europe, fucking the Northern Hemisphere, fucking the Iron Isles, none of it. And people really need to actually start looking in them. I don't know, people need to do fuck all. But I ask yourself, what do I feel patriotic towards? All the Tommy Robinson morons are fucking saying they're patriotic, and then in the same breath say that the cops are out there shutting Muslims' cocks, the politicians are out there fucking Allah Akbar, nut barring the whole of the country. We need to fight back against our government, while all the same time you're saying that you need to be patriotic, and it's basically dressed up in a perceived outside threat that's getting sold using applied psychology to get everybody's bums fucking twitching to get them to vote in a particular way, which is very evident by, look what's happened in Italy, look what's happened, look at the political landscape getting changed. Italy, most recently Germany, Wilders in Holland, Le Pen in France, whatever the fuck happened down in Spain with all the Catalonia stuff and the other. I think Spain was without an official government for about a year or something. The political landscape of the whole of Europe was getting a wrecking ball put through it. Morons are fucking being unthinking dickheads think they're saving their country, their kin, their culture, when all they're doing is dancing to the tune of a geopolitical agenda. Why do you think make America great, make Britain great again? I bet you there's a make Hungary great again, make Germany great again. I bet you all those memes, the same fucking memes are getting used to mobilise loyalty within the voting masses. The whole political landscape is changing, and why? Because the information war and how successful it's been, because of the truth and industrial complex.
Anyway, generally has a main sort of point that he wants to make, but then he has sub-points following on from that. So the second sub-point in his article was this, and I just want to read it because it is the most fantastic comment that I've seen him make in recent weeks and months. I asked the BBC how they could justify using propaganda footage, allegedly from the Syrian town of Ghouta, on a major news bulletin without any indication that it came from a partial source. They admitted that they had done this. They admitted that it was against the rules, but I did not get the impression that they were all that bothered, and I would not be surprised to see such stuff again. The BBC reports an awful lot of things from Syria, which it has no way of checking, from supposed gas attacks by the Assad state, to death tolls and films, generally of wounded children being rushed about the place by unarmed young men. It has completely abandoned any semblance of independence or impartiality. How then can it justify its licence fee collected on these conditions? I think that is the most straightforward comment I've seen him make on the issue of propaganda in the media and the information war. And I'm quite surprised, pleasant.
Now, look how they're excluding themselves from this. When in the same breath they'll tell you nobody watches the mainstream media, their ratings are down, nobody trusts them, look, everybody's absolutely sceptical about the mainstream media, we are the new media, more people are watching us, we've got more, and then they'll just exclude themselves from being part of this information war because they're only here telling you the truth.
Pleasantly surprised that he's taking this position.
So what is he doing here, Mike? He's calling BS. He's calling BS on the White House.
What are they doing here? They're coming to a conclusion and inserting it in your nut off a fucking thing that was rhymed and repeated on the Mail Online.
Helmets. He's calling BS on the East Ghouta narrative that's being wrung out in the mainstream media on every major network and all the major newspapers, all singing the exact same song, like a choir. And so it's the same repeat of a...
Like the Truther Industrial Complex.
Aleppo, we're seeing again in East Ghouta, the same narrative.
He must have a fucking space cake every morning or something, man.
The public are getting tired of it. Those who are cognizant of the sort of propaganda that's being directed at them. And so Peter Hitchens rightly has spoken up. You might not agree. Not everyone will agree with every statement Peter Hitchens makes, and he's very controversial often. But in this case, Peter Hitchens is absolutely on the money, Mike.
Yes. Now, last week we were talking about the Department for Culture, Media and Sport and the fact that they are going to try to shore up the mainstream media. We were talking about it again last night on the Sunday Wire programme, Patrick.
Yeah, completely independent from the UK column. Yeah, we talk about the same shit. The same sources. It's called something different. Look, here's our other correspondent. He's Northern Exposure. He's just basically UK column. We gave him Northern Exposure. He's independent, honestly. He's in Scotland. Then Casper the Ghost, wee ginger see-through guy. He's staying in Holland while he's telling you to be patriotic about Britain. So patriotic that he stays in Holland and he's ex-GCHQ, honest.
Patrick, well, one of the points that Matt Hancock was making was the fact that the mainstream media is suffering from economically and commercially. Well, one of the outcomes of this suffering has been that Trinity Mirror has taken over Express newspapers. They've merged. There's going to be there are already announced some major shake-ups in staff, and undoubtedly there'll be some redundancies over this. They are going to rebrand as Reach. So this is a good piece of news. They are going to rebrand as Reach after Express newspapers take over, as it reports a fall in revenue and profits for 2017. So apparently £90 million fall in the group revenue to £632 million last year. Now these are still staggering amounts of money, Patrick, and what we could do with that kind of money would put them to shame, I think. Profit before tax also fell by 11 million to £122.5 million. Nonetheless, they claim that they are struggling financially, and so this merger has taken place. It's going to be interesting, Pat, to see what happens, because Trinity Mirror, of course, tends to be quite Europhile in its approach. The Express, Europhobic in its approach. And I'm going to be very interested to see whether the Express finds itself shifting its editorial policy over the next several months.
That's a good point, Mike. So you have definitely...
You'll need to find another newspaper to report headlines from.
collision there in agendas. Are they going to keep the titles that are existing?
Most importantly, is anybody going to say that Patrick Hennessy looks like a fanny? Like he's hiding his mullet into with like some sort of soccer mom bun in the background?
So far they've said they're going to keep the titles that are existing now, yes.
I can't imagine why the revenue would have been falling all these years, Mike. Does it have anything to do with the amount of fake news that's coming out of the Express?
Does it have anything to do with the lack of emotion in my voice? It's almost like I've took an Alan Watt pill. Just changed my accent and just one monotone draw. Honestly, there are different words and emotions in my voice. Ugh, fucking hell. 21st century fucking wake-up call, he should call his thing.
In the Mirror, on a daily and weekly and almost daily basis. Does that have anything to do with it?
Well, this is a good question, and it's a question.
No, it's not a good question. It's you trying to insinuate that we tell the truth and the press's profits are down. Can they tell the dive?
Question that Demos wants to answer because they have produced this new report called Mediating Populism, and it seems like another day, another report which tries to get to the bottom of why the mainstream media is failing to control the narrative. So let's see what they say. The internet's increasing function as a source of political news means that traditional media now operate in a much more convoluted and contested environment. Citizens are overwhelmed with information from a wide variety of sources, much of it lacking ratified credibility or even actively promoting misinformation. At the same time, media organisations must navigate the rise of populist leaders and their divisive or potentially dangerous views. And the first question that came to my mind as I read this, dangerous to whom? Who exactly are the views of Donald Trump dangerous to?
What the fuck's this got to do with Donald Trump now? I'm not naive as to not know where this is going and stuff, but why are they dropping Donald Trump's politics in this?
Patrick.
And this is an interesting term. Look at this. Ratified credibility, Mike.
Yes.
This reminds me a lot of a term that we coined years ago called consensus reality.
Wow, consensus reality. I can't imagine why that ever took off like a rocket ship. consensus mentality. What the fuck was that again? Consensus mentality. I don't know. I can't imagine why that meme didn't take hold, guys.
So I think
These need a better marketing department, a better meme making department.
this is basically the same thing as consensus reality. Ratified credibility. So somebody needs to ratify the credibility of these sources, these other sources,
Well,
like the UK column, for instance. So we're not ratified. Our credibility has not been ratified. Who
Exactly, because she's a shell organisation.
ratifies the credibility? This is the question. Is it
Well, the truth lies in one's own discernment, but the UK column don't tell you that. The TV tells you lies, we tell you the truth.
Demos? Is it the liberal intelligentsia? Is it the mainstream media? Is it the Guardian Hampstead set? Is it the government? Is it Leveson? Who determines who is credible?
Well, that is exactly the point,
question.
and that is one of the points that Matt Hancock was making in his speech last week, because they want to make the government wants to make sure that it's only credible sources of information that are promoted, and that's part of what their agenda is, to support the mainstream media.
In other words, it only promote information that we like. It really has nothing to do with ratified credibility.
Absolutely.
It's information that the state likes or the information the state doesn't like.
Okay, so they say, this is Demos again, say that this paper seeks to peer behind the curtain of the British media to better understand how the growth of the new media is transforming news practices, and how the rise of populism is reshaping the power dynamics between politicians and media institutions, and the democratic implications of these developments. In particular, we explore the role that traditional media organisations have played in the legitimisation and discreditation of populist parties, and the impact of these institutional decisions in the formation of public opinion towards them. So it's an interesting paper. I recommend people read it. But again, if you read through that again, they are particularly concerned about the democratic implications of these developments.
Right, let's un-Newspeak this. They're aware there's they're aware the truther industrial complex are out there pretending to be all innocent and impartial and just care for the small man when they are they're doing a party political broadcast. But they can't tell you that because a UK column are just telling you the truth. They're not part of the information war, honest.
What do they mean by that, Patrick?
Well, I think they're concerned, they're scared of.
What do they mean by that, Patrick? Don't read it and come to your own conclusions. Here's the monotone ranger going to break it down so you can understand what it means.
Of populism, full stop.
Yes.
That seems to be the number one concern. But the populism that they claim to be referring to, Mike, is far right populism. So this is clearly directed at Brexit, the Brexit election.
Oh, it's aimed at what happened in France, it's aimed at what happened in Holland, it's aimed at what happened in Germany. What was the latest one? What happened in Italy, what happened in Spain, what happened in America, what happened in the UK. All the major sort of all the major players, geopolitically speaking, in the West.
Electorate. But the reality, Mike, is that populism doesn't just take a far-right form. There is centrist populist movements, like we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Advert time.
In Italy, okay?
Oh wow, yes, yeah. What mental? There's the American patriot sitting in the UK, working for the UK column after he was propagated by Alex Jones being an American patriot and stuff. Now working for 21st Century Wire, but he's independent, honestly, now telling you about Italy's politics.
So using this term populism and loading it with far right, with a far right characterization is really twisted on the part of Demos. So they're literally trying to herd us into this I don't know, a sort of a status quo framework where anything outside of the accepted two-party hegemony is should be categorically rejected as a threat to democracy. That's kind of what I'm reading from this.
Okay, so let's look at some.
Regardless of what you're reading from it, he just told you what's happening there, honest.
The statistics that they presented. One of the things they asked people was,
Wow, man. I've got a crystal ball here. When I was talking about the percentage of fucking stories that the Daily Mail get into the Truth and Industrial Complex. Daily Express, Evening Standard, Independent.
Which, if any, of the following publications have you read in the last week? So they're trying to get a handle on how popular the mainstream media is. So clearly, way out in front, we have the Daily Mail, with just short of 20% of the people polled reading the Daily Mail. Or is it? We'll come on to that in a second. Then we've got the Sun.
Fucking hell, swallow your bacon sandwich, you fat bastard, before you start trying to speak.
The Metro, the Guardian, all on around about 12% there. And then the Daily Mirror, the Times, the Telegraph, the Express, and then we start heading down towards the Daily Star and City AM with relatively low numbers. But what struck me straight away about this graph, Patrick, was there was no bar on the graph for people that don't read any of this trash, right? So when you read through the...
Aye, but if you look at all that stuff, it's pretty much where everybody gets all their stories from anyway, if you go and chase the genesis of all the bullshit.
Body of the text, you actually do get an idea of how many people aren't on this graph, but not a total figure. You get it broken down into male and female. They say that 51% of women don't read any of that, and 39% of men don't read any of that. But they didn't put that figure on the graph because a visual would have given you a much better impression of what the true situation was.
That's about an average of 46% weighing on the side of females over males in terms of total population. So roughly 46% of the population don't read any.
Fucking hell, man.
Of the
I need another coffee.
roll on the newsstands. So that's interesting. Why is that not in that graph, Mike? Because that would make it a better visual representation, wouldn't it? It would be more accurate to include that next to the Daily Mail and the others, don't you think?
Well, for example, exactly. So the Daily Mail figure was 20%. Is that 20% of the 100%, or is that 20% of the 60% or the 50%?
Fuck knows, man. I don't know. Up a bit, down a bit, left a bit, right a bit. I don't know, but somebody's lying somewhere, I think. I think that's what they're saying, isn't it?
That actually read the newspapers.
It's sort of misleading.
It is absolutely misleading. And then there was this one. Thinking back to the EU referendum coverage for each of the following, would you say the coverage was? And the colours there, the blues are generally positive. That's that people considered that the coverage was completely fair and impartial, or mostly fair and impartial. And then we have grey, which is about as fair and impartial as other sources. And then we have the purples, which are not partial at all. So and then we've got the hatched area, which shows the number of respondents who didn't actually read any of or listen to these classes. And from the left, we've got TV news, and then we've got radio news, and then we've got broadsheet, high quality, so-called high quality newspapers, and then we've got...
Right, so let me break this down. They're using a survey of the mainstream media, which they say are all lies and part of an information war, but they're now using the graphs and the stats from the known liars who are participating in the information war, and they're kinda giving you their opinion on stats and what they really mean. Right, got it? Good.
Job. The grey area, which is about as fair and impartial and impartial as everybody else. The question in my mind is, should that be viewed positively or negatively? Because to me, what that's tantamount to saying is the coverage from this class of media outlet was just as bad as everybody else. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm looking at this negatively, but I see that as a negative response. If somebody has responded that they didn't view that television news was any better than any other.
Yeah, it shows you how you can take a graph and spin it any way you want.
Type of news outlet.
That would be negative against the television news.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And if you take that into account, then the picture for the mainstream media looks even worse.
Well, I'll take that a step further, Mike. I'd love to see the methodology on this poll. In other words, who were they polling? what sort of people, if it was reflective of the type of people that work at Demos, then that's a really small sort of percentage of the political spectrum there. Is it regional? Is it London? Is it London intelligentsia, middle class, Hoxton, Mile End?
Any more unanswerable questions?
What exactly are we looking at there? That's kind of important to me to see how big the sample and how diverse the sample was on that. So I'm guessing it's a London, possibly a London poll. I'm not
let's just guess.
sure, but it'll be interesting to see the methodology.
I don't think you will, because that's you finished. You'll just throw a good few bits of conjecture, and maybe F2, possibly up to, they're lying. Maybe we are, maybe possibly could be too.
Nonetheless, another paper trying to get to the bottom of why the mainstream media can't carry the narrative at the moment. When we look at this as a whole, when we look at the intervention from the Department for Digital Media, Culture and Sport, we look at the continuous, almost daily publication of articles and research papers and think tank interventions, all asking the same question. We definitely get a picture of desperation.
Yeah, and I'll save you guys, well, we can save you millions of dollars in commissioning all these useless studies. I would be the biggest fan of any of these papers or media outlets if they're actually doing any real investigative journalism over the last God knows how long. I could say start at the Iraq War and let's move forward.
Yeah.
How many people have been fired in government? How many governments have been brought down by the media? Almost nothing. What sort of scandals, besides MPs' expenses? We're talking about big things. What about the UK's involvement in an illegal war of aggression in Yemen? Nobody's been taken to task for that. The support of extremists in Syria via the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and so on and so forth. There's so many of these stories. It's open wounds for real journalism, but in this environment, nothing. So this is why their numbers are falling. They're not effective.
Thank you for your conclusion, Patrick.
As a fourth estate. They're no longer the watchdog. They are the absolute lapdog of the state. The same in the
I'm confused. So
United States. It's become an institutional.
So who really are the mainstream media?
Problem in the West. So this is why their numbers are falling, because there's nothing there that's interesting in terms of watching from a.
I suppose for these cunts are a ray of sunshine in your life.
News consumers' point of view.
Right. Well, that brings up an interesting point. Just to finish this little section off, we were talking on the Sunday Wire a little bit about this last night, and I made the point that how the relationship between the media and politicians has changed since the Leveson inquiry in 2011, and they're making this point as well. The new media landscape is also shifting the relationship between the UK press and politicians. While news organisations still retain significant agenda-setting power, politicians are increasingly looking to more direct forms of communication with voters. And what they're almost saying is, it's almost an apology that because politicians have access to Twitter and have allegedly direct communication with voters, that the mainstream media is then forced to simply regurgitate what politicians are saying in some desperate attempt to maintain relevance.
Yeah, and not only that, to maintain their sources within government, their special privileged access to the halls of power. This is the same problem we see in many places. That's definitely how Washington works, and I'm sure to a degree that's how London works as well. But let's just take before we move on.
Who you patriot for again, Patrick?
Take the Chilcot inquiry, for instance. There's evidence, absolutely gaping evidence there that's been revealed by people like Professor Piers Robinson from Sheffield University, that Tony Blair, the government, colluded with the United States in advance. There was a predetermined agenda to wage an illegal war of aggression. It's absolutely proven. What did the media do, Mike, in light of any of this information? They hardly followed up on it.
Listen to the emotion just pouring out of this guy.
Anybody, is there any calls for prosecution of Tony Blair? Nothing, nothing. So it's a very comfortable environment and a little bit too intimate between the mainstream press and the state. Therefore, nothing happens. And this is why people are turning off of the mainstream media, because they just don't believe in it anymore. So it's kind of simple.
Okay, a few ads here. May is going to be a pretty busy month. It begins on the 4th to the 7th of May with Alternative View Conference, AV9, in the Horwood House Hotel.
And who's
near
all here?
Milton Keynes. Details can be found on alternativeview.co.uk. You'll be speaking. A whole range of speakers. Brian will be speaking at that as well. Do get along to it if you possibly can. The following weekend then, in Nottingham on the 12th of May, in the Albert Hall, the UK Column is holding a day's conference entitled Dying for Good Health. Can't give you any more information on that just at the moment, hopefully within the next couple of days. If you possibly can as well. The next Media on Trial event is taking place in Leeds. Details are on mediaontrial.uk. Aiming to ask the question, is the mainstream media in breach of the Terrorism Act in the UK for their promotion of terrorist narratives and for...
Are the alternative media in breach of... what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, fuck, brain fart and a half. I don't know, poke out in my head.
For the fact that they are often embedded with terrorists in the Middle East.
Treason! Are the media being treasonous by turning the citizens on our current sitting government? Not that I'm a fan of the UK government, by the way. I just can see the opposite side try to turn its own citizens in on its government. Not for the benefit of the citizens, but for the benefit of the opposite side of the information war sitting thousands of miles away.
Whenever they go to report there.
Yeah.
So,
and terrorists are their source-based narrative. So that will be definitely something interesting to explore.
Yeah, look, we can tell by his voice how fucking interesting going to be on it. Very, 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 very interesting.
Now, you mentioned Italy. Patrick, here we go. This is the Wall Street Journal saying Italy faces political...
They're telling the truth this time. Usually they lie, but this time UK Column are rhyming and repeating the Wall Street Journal stuff because it's true this time. Don't trust the mainstream media, but here's us rhyming and repeating the mainstream media.
Paralysis after populist jolt. And we have the map on the right showing the vote and the outcome.
So, big shocker and tremors in Brussels this morning as the poll results came in. The 5-Star movement, which was founded by Pepe Grillo years ago in Italy. He's a comedian and a blogger. The 5-Star movement captured the most amount of votes this time around. And another party which was surging is the Northern League.
There's... God, I hope I'm not fucking this up. That's Sicily in it, the football to the boot. That's Sicily, that's kind of the... To the best of my knowledge, it's like sort of the home of the genuine Italian mob. Funny that they're turned to like the Donald Trump alt-right populist political way of looking at things. Donald Trump, nothing to do with the American mob, not at all.
Or Lega Nord in Italian. And so we have a situation now in Italy, which is a hung parliament, but this basically both.
Not only in Italy is this exact same thing happened. You think you had it in the Netherlands, France with Le Pen, Merkel as well. Pretty much got a hung parliament now in Italy. This is the reality of the so-called independent media telling you, they're just telling you the truth, but they're changing things politically on the ground in countries.
The leading insurgent parties are anti-EU parties. So 5-Star is not great in terms of the European Union, and the Northern League will be more a right-wing party, very anti-EU. So lot of worries about, how this is going to look going forward. The markets are reacting negatively, and what will this mean for the euro? Will there be a referendum called in the future in Italy if either of these two parties manage to put a coalition together in the next few months? So there's going to be a lot of wrangling over the next couple of months in Italy as both these two key parties, these two anti-EU, let's say, insurgent parties, tussle to try to put a coalition together. Currently, you've got the Democratic Party in power, so that any coalition's going to have to include them. So my guess is that the 5-Star movement possibly, there's a chance that they could form a coalition with the Democratic Party right now, giving a pretty good majority in the Italian parliament, but still there's going to be a lot of problems. So right now the Italian political system is in limbo. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So will there be a DUP sort of deal done if they can find a dodgy party and pay them off with $1 billion or something like that, like Theresa managed to do? Will that happen? What sort of coalition is going to be? Germany's actually sorted out their coalition issue. So Angela Merkel she's actually going to form a government then? Yeah, I think that's going to happen based on what we saw this morning in the news. So maybe you can talk about that on tomorrow's program. But yeah, the other thing about this is the center left in Italy is hemorrhaging support. So that was a mainstay for political power in Italy for the last few years. But as we know, the Italian democratic system is absolutely, I don't understand half of what's going on. It's very complex, and so are the demographics in terms of where the power is.
So who's responsible for this?
Well, of course, you can't have an upheaval like this, a populist upheaval in Italy. You can't have anything like this happen. Here's Silvio Berlusconi showing his ballot, but the Russians had to be involved, hadn't they? And there you go. If you look in the background, over the shoulder of the bodyguard of Silvio Berlusconi, you'll see, there he is, Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, I think that's what you would call fake news, but it's okay.
He gets around.
He does, and he's looking on, making sure that everything's going to plan. And so, yes, there's apparently Russian meddling in the Italian elections.
No, this is why you can't tell the truth. They're using their alt-right control of the conspirators sphere to try and influence politics. Are yous that fucking stupid? I don't think they are. Because they're part of the opposite side of the information war, they can't tell you what's really going on.
So that's an exclusive.
An exclusive?
Yeah,
well,
that photo was leaked to us by one of our sources.
It's only a matter of time, I think, before that does appear in the mainstream press. So we'll keep an eye on that. But in the meantime, I just wanted to have a laugh at The Guardian here, because the Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport has released a report today on doping in sport. Report accused Justin Media of doping in Russian athletics. And
what it is, it's being used to demonize Russia in the international arena in the sport. Film being nominated at the Oscars, it's incredible, and so we've dubbed this unofficially the Leni Riefenstahl Award for Best Propaganda Filmmaker, and so the White Helmets didn't get it. The Last Men in Aleppo is one of this film. If you want to film civilians, Syria, UK. This is another one of these opposition activist groups, the Free Syrian Army in exile. So they need part 2, 1/3.
Some dead babies getting dripped in front of you.
Has he dropped Russiagate?
It seems so. It seems so. They managed to indict 13 Russian trolls who will never see the
UK column talking about Italy's politics, Germany's politics, and now America's internal politics, while protesting all they're doing is caring about the British people.
Side of a courtroom. Again, Paul Manafort for some financial improprieties, but every money being laundered with the United.
Let's go back.
Full disclosure: the F.E.A.R. list is regarded as a sort of conservative, on a tangent. Move on to people to show up to these rallies, and then they use these children to basically astroturf on this issue. This is not a natural grassroots event. That how fast.
Either is the UK column.
Asked.
They're not a natural grassroots, grumpy old men just want to save the country group.
That machine got into motion, but what they're pointing out here is that machine already existed. It's already there. And then so how well the left works in terms of organizing in this way tend to things. So it's a very...
I think we're just about out of time now. I'm kind of guessing because
Thank
we started so
fuck.
late. But thank you very much for joining us today. I do apologise again for the technical problems at the beginning of the programme. Thank you for joining us, Patrick. We will be back at the same time as usual, 1 p.m. tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Okay, our next Alex Thompson, who's going to talk on nation states and the Westphalian Order. UK column quietly said factual. Looking for Jane.
The quality of the information and also
Casper
for your
the Ghost.
stickability. I'm glad that we're also determined to phase.
XGCHQ.
So that's why I'm giving you a
Eastern Approaches means fuck all. Just a name he dug up to give himself the appearance of being independent when he isn't. And you can see British Constitution Group. Go and check out that organisation. See that they are a non-party affiliated political charity. Their own words. Or organisation, was it? Charity? I think it was charity. And then go and look at the eerie similarities to the British Constitution Association. And go and look at some of the signatories of that and where their head was at and what they believed. You get a better idea of who this mob really is. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed a UK 5th column BeNewsment from the 1984 Newspeak News at 1 Live. If you appreciated it at any point, feel free to stick a wee thumbs up. It helps the channel, it helps the show, and most importantly, it puts a smile on my face. So if you appreciate it at any point, stick a wee thumbs up. You can share it with your friends, family and foes using the button below. Help the show and the channel grow. That's what it's all about, trying to reach new people. So try and tell somebody that may not have heard about the show and you think might appreciate it as well. Tune in tomorrow for another 1984 Newspeak News at 1. Not 100% sure what we'll be doing yet. Maybe the UK column, maybe something else. And then, more importantly, not the InfoWars Nightly News tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. When it will be all about the tick under attack. The Truther Industrial Complex. Fuck the tick. And, oh man, it's quite funny to see them all running around. Even InfoWars was doing the hokey cokey with their strikes. We're going to get shut down. No, we're not. I don't understand the automated system. I'm a wee bit old and stupid. That's what Alex Jones is all about. I mean, I really can't figure out if he is as retarded as he's making out to be, or he's just stick and hype and fear for his show. Surely to God, the guy must understand that the ability that YouTube is giving out, there's to mass flag videos. That enough people hate him to mass flag his videos. I'm not saying it's big, I'm not saying it's clever. It's small-minded, stupid and petty, and morons that do that. Just they no character. So they really wouldn't do it most of them wouldn't do that kind of shit in a cold, hard light of day because it shows you up for what you are. You moan about the snowflakes and all that, and you turn into a snowflake and try and turn somebody else, turn their information off. But I can completely understand why there's people out there with enough motivation to mass flag his videos, whether it be for his political stance or just his retardationness, and for him to act up there and not understand the automatic flagging system. And the fact that everything automatically gets flagged when things get flagged or reported, they automatically get struck, brought down to hedge their bets before a human pair of eyes looks over it. And that's why he's getting strikes and then they're getting took away, because a human pair of eyes is going, right, oh hold on, people are actually just mass flagging his videos here. Yeah, he's stupid and retarded and a lot of people don't agree with what he says, but he isn't doing what the mass flagging's reported, are reporting he's doing, and thus YouTube are actually kind of being honourable and whatnot and not just kicking him off the platform, which again would be understandable because he's turned into just a party political broadcast for Trump. Anyway, in the afternoon, one and all, hopefully you enjoyed it. Tune in tomorrow for another 1984 Newspeak News at 1 live, and tomorrow night at 10 o'clock for Not the InfoWars Nightly News. Lopsum in the afternoon, my man Gary, Society of the Spectre. How you doing? There's New, how you doing? New Lopsum, Scottish Ross, Mary, how you doing, Mary? In the afternoon, guys and girls. Thanks for joining, everybody. Oh my God, what the fuck, Frankie, Gary, Scottish Ross, Chinny18, New. Oh my God, what the fuck, Tommy Robinson News, how yous all doing, guys and girls? Lopsum, MacGyver, how you doing? Happy birthday for tomorrow when it comes, my man. Lopsum, Gary, in the afternoon, hopefully, of man. There was Self as well. European Patriots Unite. European Patriots Unite under some logic. Who are you patriotic towards? Rab, Lopsum, Zoo, Scott, in the afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I shall catch you tomorrow for the 1984 Newspeak News and Not the Infowars Nightly News live at 10 bells. Catch yous.
Clips. Man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. People say it, so it's true. And if they diss me, I'll fucking sue. Man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. Man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. People say it, so it's true. And if they diss me, I'll fucking sue.